Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky with special guest Claire DeLune. The Lakers trade up in the second round, spending some of that bus cash. Who did they take, and was it the right move? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always going to be free and never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 35,000 subscribers are all hanging out and feverishly Googling Adou Thiero. Maybe they're Googling the pronunciation first. That's the guy that the Lakers traded up to get with the 36th pick in Thursday's second round of the NBA draft. We'll get to that in a moment. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Andy is still out of town, which is my good fortune because it allows me to bring on our friend Claire DeLune. You've seen her work at The Guardian. She is you've worked your way up to voting member of the media. They let you vote. You are a very important person.
I'm hoping that no one figures out they've made a grave mistake anytime soon.
Andy and I did this for a long time, where we were in there, at games and in the trenches and stuff. They never let us vote on anything. So congratulations there. You've ascended quickly.
Thank you so much.
This was, I don't know how closely you follow or how much of a draft person you are. I'm certainly interested when the Lakers do stuff and what they do. And they were pretty aggressive on Thursday, moving up from 55 to 45 and then 45 to 36, basically parlaying cash to do that. And they draft a kid from Arkansas, Adou Thiero. He is a 6 foot, depending on who you believe, 6'6" or 6'8" wing. Tremendous athleticism. Tons of defensive energy, not a lot of offense at this point that goes beyond dunking and finishing on the wing. But overall, it seems to me, Claire, to be the kind of player that the Lakers should be looking for at 36 if the exact center that they wanted wasn't there, which is exactly how the second round played out.
Yeah, everything I've read so far about the pick makes me really excited about it for the Lakers. I saw one anecdote that part of the reason his offense has been kind of rough the last year is because his hands are growing so fast that it's hard for him to hold on to and keep the basketball. And that the sort of presumption is that once he settles into whatever height he's going to end up being, because he's still growing, that his ball handling will settle more into form. So I thought that was a fun and heartening, I guess, anecdote.
Yeah,
and then
that
also,
it was Kobe Price who sent that
nice.
out. God, it's the SoCal News Group is the official title there.
Orange County Register, I think. Yeah.
Thiero was listed at 5'10" as a freshman and sophomore in high school, 6'1" as a junior in high school, 6'6" as a senior in high school, along with his freshman and sophomore year at Kentucky, then 6'8" last year at Arkansas, or this year, I should say, at Arkansas. That might be Arkansas with some funny tape measures because he measured 6'6" and a quarter at the combine. But like you say, a guy that's just been growing incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And shoots free throws reasonably well. So, maybe there's hope for him on that side of the ball.
I want to pull up this tweet if I can, but J. Kyle Mann from The Ringer, who follows the draft very closely, he described Thiero and he said, Thiero would dive into sulfuric acid to maybe get a deflection, which I feel like is exactly the kind of player that the Lakers need. Yes. That kind of hard-nosed, what was the banshee, I think was the word that JJ used to describe the guys that they already have on the team who fall into that category. But while they do have banshees on the team already in form of Dorian Finney-Smith, assuming he comes back, Jordan Goodwin, assuming he comes back, some of those guys, Vando, they aren't really particularly athletic. So they might have that dog in them, so to speak, but they're not athletic.
It's a slow dog.
It's a dog that's trying its best. So to have that, energy from a guy with actually like peak athleticism, I think is really intriguing. I saw someone else on Twitter. I'm sorry, I can't remember their handle. I apologize for not being able to give them credit. Compare like his comp. They said it was like if Russell Westbrook was controlling OG Anunoby with a remote control. Like, sign me up for the most part. So yeah, I think, it seems like a raw prospect, but a lot of, really intriguing upside.
What I like about it, look, I don't know if he's going to turn out to be good or not. He seems like a good kid and a good prospect. But what I always look for is process, because I mean, quite frankly, other than I guess like Cooper Flagg, like really nobody knows anything about any of these people in the draft and what they're really going to turn out. Nobody drafts a guy at number 4 thinking they're going to wash out, but it happens all the time. Like, but if you look at process, like what can the Lakers do to help themselves? Well, they don't have a lot of assets to trade, but what they could do is buy a pick, spend some money, do stuff like that. And that's what they did. They aggressively used money to move up in the second round. Yeah. And then they picked a skill set that isn't on the roster. And that to me, like, is what makes sense. Like, find something that you don't have. And with a second rounder, you hope that player isn't actually valuable this year. Probably means things have gone wrong. But like, the Lakers don't always have good process. So when they do, I like to point it out.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
Always good.
But like, so when you look at, I had Anthony Irwin on yesterday, and I know he was talking about, I quite frankly thought it was a little delusional, but like hoping the Lakers would have this. I know. He's usually such a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah.
I call him Grumpy Cat. So like he was sort of hoping the Lakers would have this center issue somewhat addressed before the draft, like through a trade, whatever it might be. And I just don't see how the Lakers get there. Like, so when you look at what they need to do, you have any, like, how do you view, and we'll carry this in the next segment a little bit too, but like, how do you view what they ought to be doing in this offseason?
I mean, it's tough because there are like several really clear needs. I think they really need 2 centers, to be honest. I think they need a starting center and they need a higher and they need a higher level backup. So that's 2 roster, spots right there that they need to address. And they really do need, I think, another like physical defensive, wing, or someone who can defend at least like 1 through 3. So like either a defensive minded guard who actually has more offensive upside than like say a Gabe Vincent, or a wing who can play down and defend guards. So to me, they have a minimum of 3 like glaring needs. And then more than that, ideally, if possible. And I think, where I would like to temper Laker fan expectations is that there's just not a ton of like positive assets available right now for them. Even that first round pick that they do have available to trade is immediately less valuable than it was last summer, because now they have Luka Doncic, and the likelihood that that's going to be a top 5, for example, pick is a lot lower. So I think they're going to have to get creative. And yeah, I think even if obviously there needs to be some sort of moves made this summer, but if you don't see all the moves made, it's not necessarily, and like far be it from me to defend Rob Pelinka, but it's not necessarily just because Rob isn't doing, his due diligence. It's also because of like what they have to work with assets wise is not ideal.
Right. It's always funny to me. It's like, get on Rob for the right stuff.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want
like
him,
the last 2 years, for example.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't want them to do stupid things. Like if you make a mistake, and tell this to my kids, like if you make a mistake, don't make it worse by either not admitting it, by trying to lean into it, by trying to do something crazy because you think you've got this, taking this Hail Mary to get out of the thing that you did wrong.
Yeah.
But after the break, let's kind of explore this a little bit, because what the Lakers do this offseason is a different thing than the kind of the constraints that you're talking about in terms of what they're actually able to do this offseason. And so it's important to put the blame in the right spot. We'll do that next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was certainly intrigued. I've heard a lot about the quality. I've heard about it from friends and family. Happy to give it a try. And you know what? I was certainly impressed because if you're somebody who's picky about what you're wearing, or at the very least, you want to be able to wear to do multiple things. That's kind of like I go into work and I'm changing. I don't want to have to redo my whole undercarriage just to be able to go to the gym or walk around or whatever it might be. So Skims works really well for me. I personally was able to try and wear the boxer briefs, really comfortable, 5-inch. That's my particular length there. And super, super comfortable. Can wear it around, fits everything you want to do. Go to the gym, go to work, just run around with the kids, whatever it is you need to be doing. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey, select Locked On Lakers in the drop-down menu that follows, again, Skims Men's at skims.com. Okay, so the criticism of the Lakers, last year, obviously, Claire, they did nothing in the offseason. Basically, they drafted Dalton Connect, and that was it. That was
Bronny James.
And Bronny James, that's true. Who, by the way, low-key had a perfectly good season for the 55th pick.
1,000%.
Great in the G League. Was definitely a better player at the NBA level at the end of the season than he was at the beginning.
He was a game-high scorer in the game that he played that nobody else played.
Someone had to be, but it's not crazy to think that there will be a stretch this year where they need him to play 15 minutes a night and he can do it. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So look, the Lakers put themselves in a box that they are not quite able to get out of yet. Obviously the Luka trade is something that you do, at least in my opinion, 100 times out of 100, but because it was so unexpected, it did kind of throw off the plan, what they had available, the assets they might have, and all these other things. And so they are in a difficult position to make the team better. The fault, at least for me, is to Rob for putting themselves, some degree, getting them into this box. But how they get out of it, you can make some really bad moves out of desperation for a center, for example, if you're not careful, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's funny because it's like the hot dog meme where it's we're all looking for the guy who did this. It's that's literally you, Rob Pelinka. You are the guy who did this. But at the same time, you can't change the circumstances now. We're living in the current reality, and that reality is that they did give a bunch of minimum guys 1+1 deals. They did, make a lot of mistakes. I would say with the roster, they were probably too hesitant to move stuff when those things had more value, that sort of thing. I would say one positive, sort of glass half full thing I would look at is I think Rui is a more desirable asset this summer than he was last summer. He had a better showing towards the end of the regular season. He was a key contributor to the team. He looked better in the playoffs than he did last year. So I would say that's, a positive thing. And also, I believe, is Gabe on an expiring now?
Gabe's on an expiring. The one thing, this is the intriguing part about the reporting that was kind of popping out of Miami on, I think it was Wednesday, where the Heat are interested in expiring contracts in an Andrew Wiggins deal. Well, that's the one thing Lakers have.
Speaking of expiring contracts,
hey, we've got plenty of that. It's Gabe and Rui and
Maxey, right?
Kleba,
yeah,
and Shake Milton. And I'm forgetting someone. But yeah, they got plenty of that. So, hey, Miami, hey, Pat Riley. But yeah, that's about it. They have one draft pick they can trade. They have Dalton Connect. Who I think's value is
probably, I would say maybe late first round pick value, maybe second round pick value ish.
I personally, maybe they can swing a trade for Nick Claxton or something like that. Maybe they can afford to get a Clint Capella if he's available. I think he might end up costing more given what the center market looks like, but it's not. That center isn't a position that's easy to fix in this offseason because there aren't a lot of guys that I think fix the problem available.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely slim pickings, and the guys that would be like ideal fits next to Luka, like everyone else in the league is fully aware of, what kind of center plays well next to Luka Doncic, and they're not going to like do the Lakers a solid by making it easy for them to get those players. Like I've heard still a lot, and I'm a huge Walker Kessler fan. I think he would be a beautiful fit, both age and timeline wise, and also skill set wise. But like, you have another thing coming. If you think Danny Ainge is just going to be like, who would really help the Lakers who are in my same conference? My player. And so
Right.
I'm going to facilitate that for Rui Hachimura, Dalton. You know what I mean? Like
if the Lakers had enough stuff to get Walker Kessler, because I don't see why Utah's in any particular hurry to trade him. Like, it makes no sense.
He's on
to
their
me.
timeline. Like,
He's
why
good.
would they trade
And
him?
he's good. Like,
And
his
he's
defensive
awesome.
metrics are insane. And so if the Lakers had enough stuff to do it, it probably would be a Laker already. But like, they don't. Like,
I mean, and Danny is never really in the business of trying to help the Lakers as like a lifetime Celtics tenured person, but also I think especially now because he was unwittingly involved in the Luka trade and did not know he was helping the Lakers get Luka Doncic. So imagine his surprise when the 3-team trade he was involved in, where he didn't know who the third team was or what was happening, ended up being him being the final puzzle piece to help the Lakers get their franchise cornerstone.
right.
He was none too thrilled about that from everything I've heard. And yeah, I would say unless it's years later after that player has left the Utah Jazz, I would not expect the Lakers to be acquiring any promising young players from the Utah Jazz anytime soon.
Is there anybody like who's your person? Like, I think like the guy that I think is realistic, that I would be like, okay, that's at least plausible. He's, if they go into the season with, him as the starting center, it's not ideal, but it's significantly better than, Jackson Hayes. That to me is Capella. Is there somebody that I'm missing? Like, I just
kind of
don't-
on the downturn, I would say.
He is. He is. He
and I
didn't want the starting job mostly because Okongwu was better, and that he's younger, and they've invested a lot in him.
Yeah, I would say if I was the Lakers, I mean, like obviously, if anything is an upgrade, no offense, but like, but I think you're wanting to get younger and more athletic, generally speaking, if you can. So some of these, like I've heard Brooke Lopez talk and stuff like that, and it's like that's just the exact wrong direction to be headed, in my opinion. I think Nick Claxton's the best possible fit on the board. Like salary wise, it's not like astronomical. It's obviously more than you'd probably like to spend, but like it's still, doable.
And it's predictable.
You kind of know what he's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think he's good enough to fit what they need. Beyond that, I mean, does Dallas want to dance again? Like Daniel Gafford, obviously we know what that looks like with Luka. Or Lively for that matter, but I really doubt Dallas is doing anything with Lively, especially now that they have Cooper Flag.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, realistic. What does realistic really even mean at the end of the day? I mean, they just got Luka Doncic in the middle of the season, so who knows? Although I have been getting so annoyed at the discourse, like about that trade, and when they talk about like, Desmond Bane went for 5 first-round picks and Luka only went for 1. I'm like, they got Anthony Davis. Like, can we please put some respect on Anthony Davis's name? Like, how many first-round picks?
Yeah.
Let's do this fun little thought exercise. How many first-round picks do you think you could get for Anthony Davis? So add those number of first-round picks to the number of picks that Dallas got, and then you're a little closer to the
right. And like half these picks turn out to be like, and you tweeted about this a little bit on Thursday. I saw it. I was like 1,000% agree. It's like, I think was it Kornheiser was like questioning whether or not Anthony Davis is going to the Hall of Fame. Like, yes, of course he's going to the Hall of Fame. It's like, what are we talking about here? But like,
Alex Caruso's probably going to the Hall of Fame at this rate. Like, what are we even talking about?
A couple more titles.
The 2-time champion.
Anthony, I mean, look, I don't think any of us would have done the Luka thing exactly the way that Nico did.
That was terrible. But to say, like, to try and do apples to oranges and say, like,
right.
Oh, well, Desmond Bane netted this many firsts. You know what I think it is? It's the couch GM plague where everyone's just trying to, like, speak in GM speak and try and do it all from home. And, like, the obsession with picks and, like, aprons. And it's It's so nerdy. It's just watch the basketball, guys. Like
Right.
leave like the hand wringing about trades and cap space to us, please. We don't even like doing it.
It's also context too. It's like, why did Orlando pay that much for Desmond Bane? Because they were the worst shooting team in the NBA last year.
Yeah.
And Bane solves an incredibly big problem for them in a suddenly wide open Eastern Conference. Like, and they had the stuff. Like, it makes sense. Austin Reeves, who you could argue is as good as Bane. Some people might think he's a little better. Some people think Bane is better, whatever. You can't trade Austin Reeves in the same way because Reeves is in a walk year and he's not going to have the same kind of appeal and all that kind of stuff. So you got to find a team that wants it. Like, just it is frustrating. It's Anthony Davis. Like, let's not forget how good Anthony Davis actually is as an NBA player.
People love to forget how good he is.
Yes. I want to ask you about the Western Conference and what that looks like, where the Lakers fit in, because, oh my God, it's very Hunger Games out there right now. And so we will do that next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you as well by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? I know at our house, we're constantly doing that for soccer games. Angel City, LAFC, you go there, it's game day, and you kind of want to be like, it's last minute. Let's see if we can sneak into this thing for a pretty good price. And that's how we use Game Time. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. You go to the Game Time app, you just check in, put in the amount of tickets you want. You get to see exactly where the seats are that you might purchase. It'll tell you if it's a good deal, a bad deal, a great deal, and you can pick the tickets you want. You can even show the kids where they're going to be sitting because they care about this sort of thing. Game Time is last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% on exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matches. Seat views right in the app before you buy. Love that feature. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So it's not getting any easier in the West. Like, the Lakers won 50 games. They still should be pretty good this year, but even beyond the gap between the Lakers and Oklahoma City, which is probably pretty significant, like, who are the genuinely terrible teams right now in the West? Are there any that you look at and say that team's just awful? Like, flat out, like, they might struggle to win 20 games Wizards style. Like, the West doesn't have that.
I would say Utah is probably going to be really, really bad. And I think the Pelicans are also going to be really awful this year because there's no like timetable to return for Murray at this point that I know of. Zion obviously is a walking injury risk.
Right.
I think their draft choices, like, while they got some talent, it's like some clunky fits, and they just got rid of, CJ. So he was sort of like the adult in the room. So I would guess that those will probably be at the bottom of the West.
But I mean, 2 years ago, New Orleans won a fair amount of games with, it's just a matter of guys getting hurt, Jones and Murphy and those dudes. Did you see that the kid they drafted, Derek Queen, posted his a post on LinkedIn? Celebrating his new, he's announcing his new.
I saw that. I feel
job.
for him because I feel like one of the worst draft decisions in NBA history is going to hang over him for the rest of his career, and he's going to have to be like incredibly good to offset how incredibly dumb that was of New Orleans, in my opinion.
I would not have. I mean, for people who don't know, they essentially are betting on themselves to make not just the playoffs next year, but really finish somewhere in the top third of the league, because otherwise, unprotected pick goes back to who does that deal with?
Atlanta. So basically they offered they gave up their unprotected first round pick next year to move up 10 spots in the draft this year, to move from 23 to 13, I believe. And they could easily have the number 1 overall pick next year, I think.
Absolutely.
Like, that's in play.
And this gets to what we're talking about here. Like, you need to win to get in the top 8 and really get in the top 6. Like, this year it took 50 wins. 48, I think, was 6. like the Pelicans going to win 48 games next year. I mean, and
I
then
think
you look at it.
Yeah, it comes back to the same thing, which is kind of just that self-awareness and being able to look in the mirror and like be honest with yourself about who you are. And I think, the playoffs this year were a wake-up call for the Lakers, that as good as they looked towards the end, or I would say towards the middle to late regular season, because they did take a little bit of a dive at the worst possible time heading into the playoffs, but they weren't as close maybe as they thought, I think, and as some of us thought. And I think watching the athleticism, the speed, the depth of some of the teams that made deeper runs, I think that became apparent. And so it's the same principle as why I'm so anti what New Orleans did. It's just like, know who you are, have an understanding of that, and do what you need to do to address that, and like figure out how far away you are from being good and where you are right now, and like what moves are the most prudent right now. And I think the Lakers aren't so far away that it's worth, blowing it up or just punting another season, which would be what I recommend New Orleans would do, and just keep that pick. But like, they are far enough away that they can't just have like a tepid off season. They have to be aggressive, and they have to at least try to make as many moves as possible.
I think about like with the Lakers relative to the rest of the West. It's like they LeBron was pretty healthy last year. AD, before he was traded, reasonably healthy. He was hurt more with Dallas than he was with the Lakers. Obviously, you have Luka, who is, they're very clearly making a point. Luka is, to make sure that people know, like, he's taking the fitness thing very seriously this offseason. And I certainly understand why. It's really hard to figure out how they get way better. And, I think they can improve. And I think they can put themselves kind of on the fringes of stuff. But if you're, you talk to Lakers fans earlier in the show, like, do it again. If you're hoping to be able to make that jump to where you can catch, Houston as a regular season 2 seed, if you think you can catch Oklahoma City competitively and stuff like that, that's a tall order for one off season.
For sure. And I think some of the lessons learned, I would argue, are that maybe obviously it's important to stay out of the play-in, or at least, lock up that 7 seed so that you get a couple cracks at it. But I think JJ had a lot of pride in ending up as a higher seed this year. I think the team had a lot of pride in that as well, after being in the play-in several years running. But you saw how little that mattered ultimately when it came down to it, because the West is so deep that you don't get handed a bad, team to match up with in round 1 unless you're the 1 seed. And even then, they're probably not that bad. So I would say hopefully the Lakers have learned their lesson, that especially with your either first or second best player, depending on the day, being 40 years old and the oldest player in the NBA, it's important to like de-emphasize the regular season wins to some degree. Like, definitely focus on chemistry building, definitely focus on building good habits, but you don't need to play all your best players, like 38, 40 minutes to win against Washington on a Tuesday if it means you're going to end up as the 6th seed instead of the 3 seed. It just really doesn't matter that much at the end of the day. The West is too good.
I want to run something by you, because I know you are a supporter of the work and achievements of LeBron James. With, by the way, good cause.
Yeah. I think I hitched my wagon to a good one.
Smart move. I have long maintained that LeBron is a problem because he has stayed not just good, he was 2nd team All NBA this year, and I realized the rules
he finished
are different.
top 6 in MVP voting.
Yeah, and I realized the rules are different, and different guys get hurt and whatever. I don't care. He was, like you say, top 6 in MVP voting. He was an All NBA player. I don't think anybody expected him to be this good for this long, and it's causing problems because the Lakers can't figure out what to do, because he's way too good to walk away from. If it's not like you can just take that $50 million and spend it on something else. That's not how this works. So you're not going to replace him if he leaves. It's impossible. But you can't plan for how long he's going to stay, because I don't even think he really understands. It's like, the minute he started to suck, I think he would walk away. When's that going to be?
Yeah, I think I would be shocked if it's more than 2 years at this point, because I know how committed he is to leaving while he's still really good. Like, I don't even think, obviously he wouldn't stay around long enough to suck, but I don't even think he would stay around long enough to like come off the bench or something. Like, he wants to be like one of the couple best players on his team until the end, and he doesn't want to like decline in public view.
I think he'll feel that decline before we'll ever see it. He'll know it's coming.
And that's why I think, just based on the way he's been talking and based on, you know, some of the uptick in injuries in recent years, like, I thought this year was going to be his last year coming up. I guess it still might, but I think Luka extended that timeline maybe a little bit just because he can do some of the ball handling and facilitation that LeBron was being tasked with. But to me, if I had to like place a bet, my bet would be not this year, but the year after would be the last one. That's when Bryce is NBA eligible. And I just, knowing LeBron, I just don't see him pushing it to the extreme outer limits. I think he is already winding down.
Do you think he finishes in LA?
I kind of do. Yeah. A few months ago, I was pretty like, especially when Cleveland got eliminated early, I was like, that just makes so much sense for both sides. Like, Cleveland clearly wasn't as close as they thought. I think obviously there's injury stuff you could point to, but like, I just think they also don't quite have it. And I think it's become clear. And then with LeBron, I think I can't imagine him ending his career anywhere besides LA or Cleveland. Like, I don't think
Cleveland's the only place he could go.
Exactly. Like, at his big age, he's not trying to like start over. So I could see him like narrative wise being like, I'm going to end it where I started it, you know, that sort of thing. But now that the Lakers have sold, so they're going to like have more to invest, you know, I mean, it would be hard to imagine him leaving before he gets to reap any of the rewards of like that ownership change. And also I think he likes playing with Luka, and realistically, the East is really weak. So next year he probably would have a better chance in Cleveland than in LA. But in the big picture, I just don't really see any situations that he would want to go to where he has a way better shot. And his whole family's in LA and he loves it here. So I think he's staying.
I mean, I get all the complications, and I get that it makes it hard for the Lakers, and I get, you know, he still sucks the oxygen out of rooms and all that. The Lakers have already turned things over. It's Luka's team. Everything they do roster wise is going to be for Luka and all that. LeBron, from everything it seems, is totally fine with that because he can play with anybody and he's still going to be LeBron. I don't think people fully appreciate what they're trying to chase. Those people who are trying to chase him out of LA and perhaps even just get him to retire, don't think they really appreciate what they're chasing out.
I think there's so much of the discourse around LeBron is like what you would imagine someone who's 40 would be versus the reality of the player that he is right now. Like, you know, I get frustrated because I hear Bill Simmons a lot talking about like, oh, well, of course he's going to miss. I mean, I remember going into last season, it's like, well, he's only going to play like 50 or 60 games. And then his co-host was like, why? And he's just like, because he's 40. And it's like, but it's just based on nothing. Like, because this is unprecedented what he's doing, I think people have a hard time wrapping their brains around how good he still is. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this isn't like post-injury Kobe where, you know, like in good faith, the organization is doing right by him, but really he's like a shell of the player he was before. Like, this is still a really
careful player.
I mean, even Kobe fans can admit that, like, you know, late in his career, he wasn't the Kobe we like admire and love really to the same degree anymore on any given night. Like, he would have his nights, sure. Right? And I'm a big Kobe fan as well. So that's said with love and respect. But like, I think LeBron is still, like you said, second team all NBA. Like, the people who are, you know, my colleagues who are those of us who voted for him for all NBA, like, this is not like an honorary, like, you're there because people want to come up with reasons to not vote for LeBron. Like, they're searching for reasons why he doesn't deserve credit. Like, they're sick of giving him credit. They're talk about voter fatigue. This man has been in the league for 20 plus years, but it's just undeniable how good he still is. So just be grateful that exists on your team. And then when it's gone, it'll be glaringly apparent why you should have been grateful. That's
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with 35,000 plus subscribers to the channel. Thank you so much to Claire DeLune. Go find her at Claire at Claire MPLS, and of course at The Guardian, where you not only can but should be reading all of her stuff because it's really, really good.
Thanks.
You get to take the off season off. Do you get to rest?
Nope. I have some stuff in development that I'm working on right now, and then I'm also going to be in Vegas for Summer League. So I'll be right back in basketball world sooner rather than later.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see everyone on Monday.